What is going on, grinders? It's the Take Your Pick'em podcast. It's May 4th, 2023, and we are back yet again to talk some of our favorite plays on the Pick'em sites. I am Will Priester, a.k.a. Chief Justice 06, and I'm glad to be back. So excited, man, to have this one going early in the morning to try to get some of these things on the board before they bump. Some plays are going to bump regardless, but hopefully we can keep bringing you some top-notch plays here to help you put a little bit more money in your pockets day in and day out. So we're going to kick it off. If you've been around, you know the theme of this show already. Time for our winning words of wisdom. And so this one was an interesting one today that I found. This one is about entrepreneurs, but I think it's a crossover into everyday life as well. So here's a quote that says, "An entrepreneur is a man who knows he can fail, but he does not accept to fail before he actually fails. And when he fails, he learns from his errors and moves on." And so I love that quote. I'm an entrepreneur myself, work for myself, also, provide content through this great company. And look, man, what you don't want to do, we don't want to accept failure before anything actually happens. We don't want any preconceived notions, any preconceived failures. We want to wake up with a winning mentality, a positive outlook, and we want to parlay that into all of our decision making, how we treat people in general, how we view everyday life. So those are our winning words of wisdom on this morning. We're going to do our recap from yesterday. So we're off to a pretty good start so far, 5-4. Since the podcast got started, we ran back Luke Casey over 4.5 Ks. I guess we should have left him out. The weather saved us on day one. Day two, Luke Casey comes out and lays a stinker. That's okay. We took an L on that. Juan Soto was sort of the big one. Fantasy points on both sites. He was 8.5 at the recording of the podcast and 8 on PrizePicks at the recording of the podcast. 8.5 on Underdog, 8 on PrizePicks. Those projections, we took more than those projections, and he was able to parlay that into a big day. 2 walks and I think an RBI double, so that took him over the top on both sites. And then we also roll with the play from our Pick'em sheet that's designed by Chris Jamino that's going to give us plays that are advantageous for us on a daily basis. And we did some research. We took the under on Andrew Heaney, or less than Andrew Heaney pitching outs at 17.5, and we're able to pull out the W on that play as well. So overall, once again, off to a really good start. And we want to keep that momentum going today. Rob G's in the chat. Good to see you, Rob G. Robert G. Everybody, you can come hang out in the chat anytime. We're live, so we're more than happy to hang out, interact. If you've got some questions about any plays, please throw them in the chat, and maybe I can look them up and we can do some quick research while we're here live on the air. So we're going to get this thing kicked off. Bats have been doing us pretty good this week. I'm actually going to have 3 plays from the bat side of the game today. And so, we're going to kick this thing off. We are going to Washington and Chicago. If any of you hang out in the prop shop, if any of you listen to any RG content, if you listen to any morning grinds that we've been on, folks, Patrick Corbin is on the mound today. I repeat, it is Patrick Corbin Day, and we absolutely want to attack Patrick Corbin. So we're going to go ahead and pull up the screen share right now. Super excited about this one. Hasn't been, I think, as great in the season as we would like, but I think today is an opportunity for him to put up a big score. Once again, alert. Patrick Corbin is on the mound. Here we go. So on the season right now, Patrick Corbin, 14.4% K rate, 4.94 xFIP. xFIP actually isn't as high as I thought it would have been. I thought he would have been over 5, but I'm not worried about that. And he's not walking guys. So when you got a guy that's got an xFIP that's reasonably high, low K rate, not walking guys, folks, he's throwing meatballs. He's throwing meatballs at the plate. No surprise here. We are going to take Dansby Swanson, and we're going to look at him today. He has a PrizePicks projection of 8.5 fantasy points. I was shocked that we didn't have a fantasy point projection for him on Underdog today. I was really excited to get him on both sides, but he's not on Underdog. He's only on PrizePicks, 8.5 fantasy points. And so Dansby Swanson on the season so far against lefties, 250 ISO, 432 WOBA, 20% K rate, 20% walk rate. For Dansby Swanson, that is exceptional. Hard hit rate of 57%. And I mean, I really like this play. The contact rate for him right now, and I think I passed it. Come on, Dansby, where'd it go? Sorry, folks. Oh, contact rate on him is 66%, but I'm not worried about that with Patrick Corbin. You know, we're going to get into the weeds here slightly in terms of the pitches that he's going to see today. He's mostly going to see sinker. Patrick Corbin throwing the sinker about 43% of the time to righties. We look at Dansby, he's got an 81% K rate, 243 ISO, 352 WOBA, 50% hard hit rate. I'm not worried about it. I really, really, really like this play today. Dansby Swanson, 8.5 fantasy points. I think this is a real good spot for him to send one over the fence. Once again, folks, Patrick Corbin will be throwing strikes, and I think Dansby Swanson is going to have a chance at a big day. And it also doesn't hurt that Nico Horner is ahead of Dansby Swanson. This is a guy, if he gets on base, probably going to steal the base. That's going to increase Dansby Swanson's chances to drive in some runs. I think we'll get Nico Horner in scoring position at least twice in this game. So I really like him. Next up on the docket, once again, we're going to see some bats today. We've got Jorge Mateo from Baltimore, and I hope he's in the lineup today. I believe he's going to be in the lineup. Folks, he's facing, I repeat, alert. Jordan Lyles is on the mound for Kansas City, and we're going to get Jorge Mateo. And what we're doing with Mr. Mateo here, we're going to take him over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI. So we won't get any credit for any walks. But hits, runs, RBIs, we'll get all the credit in the world. We're sitting at 1.5. I think Mr. Mateo is another candidate that can have some guys in scoring position. And when you look at Jordan Lyles, what you'll see on the season here so far, 6.05 xFIP, 17.5% K rate, 7.8% walk rate. Here's where it gets really interesting for me. He's actually struggling more with righties right now. So at a 13% K rate to righties, 319 ISO to righties, only walking righties 5.2%. But once again, I think this is a good spot for Jorge Mateo. On the season right now, in 49 plate appearances, 12.2% K rate, 404 WOBA, 341 ISO, and is making pretty good contact at 75%. Here's the thing, though. What we're going to see from Mr. Lyles is he's going to be throwing the fastball to righties 47% of the time in around 90 miles per hour in terms of that type of velocity. Look at Mateo, folks. Now, look, this is only 3 plate appearances. I'm not worried about it. The overall season numbers look really good. 70% contact rate, 250 ISO, 521 weighted on base average, that's WOBA, 66% hard hit rate. I think if he makes some contact and we can get the barrel on the ball with some guys in scoring position, I think we've got a good chance for Jorge Mateo to get going at the plate today against Mr. Jordan Lyles. We're going to do a repeat this week. So I know I'm going through the plays a little bit more quickly today. It's because I actually have about 4 or 5 plays, possibly 6 that I want to try to get to you in the time that we have. So I'm moving rather swiftly. Once again, if you guys in the chat, if you have a question or you got a prop that you're on and you just kind of want to take a look at it, I'm more than willing to get in on it live. Here we go. We're going back to Tampa Bay. Folks, don't look now. Wander Franco is on a pretty good tear against the Pittsburgh Pirates in this series. I mean, scoring fantasy points galore. And so we've got Wander Franco facing Vince Velasquez. Vince Velasquez on the season, 23.4% K rate, 4.89 xFIP, 8.8% walk rate. But if we come down and look at it on the season, the numbers tick down for lefty. So 21% K rate, 11.3% walk rate, and a 26.8% ground ball rate, 43.9% fly ball rate. Why is that important for Mr. Franco? Well, if you look at Mr. Franco here, 18.9% K rate, 3.61 WOBA, 239 ISO. Doesn't walk a lot, but he's favored as more of a ground ball pitcher than a fly ball pitcher by about 4%, and his line drives about 7%. I think this is a good chance for Wander Franco to knock one out of the park, and let me show you why. If you're out there, I think Wander Franco has a shot at a home run today, folks. Look at what we're getting from Vince Velasquez. We're getting 53, almost 54% fastball from Vince Velasquez to Wander Franco, around 93 miles per hour. So that's between 92 and 94. We pull up our chart here. Look at these numbers, folks. 91% contact rate, 8.62% whiff rate, a 25% ground ball rate, 364 ISO, 458 WOBA, 54% hard hit rate. I think Wander Franco has a chance to get this one done and with one swing of the bat. And I'm hoping that's what we get. So love Wander Franco. He's basically making the show for a second time this week. He's at 8 fantasy points. The last I checked, I think he was at 7.5 earlier this morning. I could be wrong. I think he was at 7.5. But he's at 8 fantasy points on PrizePicks. We're going to take more than that projection that they have. Once again, they did not give us Wander Franco fantasy points on Underdog today. They did give us a singles prop, and I'm just going to avoid that. He could possibly get a single, but I'm not going to invest in that one. I'm going to be very selective here with Franco today at 8 fantasy points. So those are 3 so far. Those are 2. Yeah, 3 so far. Dansby Swanson, more than 8.5 fantasy points. Wander Franco, more than 8 fantasy points. And then we've got Jorge Mateo at 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. We want more than that number as well. Yesterday, we had some success with the sheet. I found 2 plays. This is actually going to be in the NBA variety, so I'm moving away from MLB for right now. One of the things that has happened this season is when we have fantasy point projections on both sites, they're based on FanDuel scoring, which is very good. And so our sheet this morning, and this one really stood out to me, folks. Now, this is Underdog. I'm going to start with Underdog. I'm going to do it on both sides. But on Underdog, we have Anthony Davis with the fantasy points projection of 59.15 fantasy points. And this thing has a win percentage of 74% on, and we're taking under here, taking less than the 59.15 fantasy point projection. And LeBron James is at 48.15. His is actually a little bit better on PrizePicks. However, I like them both. But if I were you, I would get in on the Anthony Davis unders on Underdog right now. I know he had a massive game against Golden State, the first game out, but I'm willing to roll with our sheet here at 59.5. We're basically asking Anthony Davis to get, around 60 fantasy points to beat us. Look, AD can get there. I'm not saying that he can't, but I like our chances here with Anthony Davis below that 59.15. And if I'm not mistaken, on PrizePicks, and we can pull that right up here, on PrizePicks, Anthony Davis is at 57.5. So once again, you want to take the less than on Underdog currently. Once again, I don't mind PrizePicks as well. I like less than the projection on both. LeBron James is at 48.5 on PrizePicks, and I'm taking less than those fantasy point projections, expecting Golden State to come out and have a really good game tonight and hopefully limit the damage from what the LA Lakers are going to try to do in their building. So really like those 2 plays. I think we ended up with 5 plays today so far. So hopefully we can hit all 5. And if you're on PrizePicks, that will get you back a 10x return. We did have a question from MovieBox here. And MovieBox said, from the prop shop, how do you feel about Pablo Lopez over 6.5 Ks today? And so the thing is, Pablo's been having a really good season. And let's just walk through kind of how we'll dissect this, and then we'll get out of here. Let's walk through this process. So the first thing I'm always going to do is I'm going to go to Plate IQ. I just want to see the normal numbers, right? Just where are we at just from a standard perspective, no weather, nothing like that. Let's just see where we are. And so we've got Pablo here, projected lineup. Looks like the bottom of the order is striking out a lot less, but we're starting with Pablo here, 3.5 xFIP, 31.1% K rate, 6.1% walk rate, ground balls at 46%. And he's pretty even to both sides of the plate in terms of the county numbers, the K rate. But then we get to the walk rate. He's 8.2% more. He's 4% more basically walking guys to the left side of the plate on this season. And in the projected lineup, it looks like he's going to see 3 lefties where Yasmani Grandal is a switch hitter. So looks like he'll see 3 lefties. He's been striking out righties a ton. And when we look at the righties, we've got Anderson at 23%, Vaughn at 23%, Jimenez at 28%, Robert at 27%, Roberto at 12%, Andrus at 16.5%. So that's what we have there. We'll scroll down. We want to see, okay, what pitches are you throwing? What pitches is he throwing to these guys? Looks like he's got fastball between 92. I'm give him a little bit more because he's almost at 95 miles per hour. We look at the contact rates. Tim Anderson, 61%. Benintendi's getting good contact. Andrew Vaughn, good contact. Jimenez and Robert, kind of marginal contact. Sheets, good contact. Middle of the road here for Yasmani and Alberto. And Elvis Andrus is getting good contact. That's on the fastball. We go to the changeup, which to the right side of the plate, I can almost assure you the changeup is a strikeout pitch. So we go to the changeup. We're seeing contact rates kind of middle of the road here. Jimenez and Robert look like two big-time strikeout candidates. Looks like he'll probably get at least one from them. He may even get Grandal even at the left side of the plate, right? And then it looks like his strikeout pitch, to lefties is the curve. Still the changeup, I'm sorry. And then he's also got the curve to lefties. So let's look at the lefties because he's not throwing much to righties. So to the lefties, Benintendi, 78% contact rate. Gavin Sheets, 67%. Grandal, 72%. Okay, kind of marginal there. And then he's got the sinker that he's throwing to righties. And they've got good contact rates, but the ground ball rates are there. So just from this initial analysis, and we got to get out of here, I would say Pablo is probably almost a stay away for me in this particular spot. I know that around the industry, and I'll even pull this up, I know the bat has him, I think, probably around 5.5 strikeouts. I looked at the sheet this morning as well. Our sheet actually has him, because we've got it for MLB. We've got Pablo around 5 strikeouts. So it looks like around the industry and around the projections systems, Pablo Lopez is projected for 5. Now, guess what? I've got another one I'm going to use. Let's go to Fantasy Labs, and let's see where Pablo ends up there as well. And that way we can kind of get a good beat on where all the projection systems are. Pablo Lopez, around 5.64 strikeouts. It looks like all the stars are aligning from a projections perspective. And it looks like the under is where the industry is going to land. For me, this is probably a stay away. I think Pablo can get 6 strikeouts. And if everything goes well, I think he can get 7. I think Pablo ends on 6. I think he's more likely to end on 6 than he is to end on 5, in my opinion. And at 6.5, I'm likely to take the under, but more likely to stay away. I will say this. I think we've got the bump down on him already. At 6, I'm probably more likely to take the over. Hopefully that clears it up, gives you a little bit of thought process behind how I would break that down. Once again, at 6.5, I would have just stayed away. At 6, I'm probably more likely to take the over because I think he's more likely to get 6 than 5. And so at that rate, that would be my process to go through. And I could go to Baseball Savant, but I don't have time to get into the weeds on that on the show to look at all the other little details. But at any rate, folks, thanks for joining me on the Take Your Pick'em podcast. Come in with your pockets empty, leave with your pockets full. We'll see you again tomorrow.